All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. So, I'm going to share this streaming link here to get more viewers for this. And while I do this, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about here in this video. So, I'm going to do a quickie today, just my ramble on the movie Tenet, that new Christopher Nolan movie that just came that just came. Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Um, okay. Here we go. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. So, yeah, I'm going to talk about the movie Tenet, which I saw recently, and it's fucking amazing. It's one of those Christopher Nolan movies that you have to watch over and over and over again because it's so fucking like fascinating and complex, and there's so much going on that you definitely miss it the first time. I've seen it twice now, and I definitely missed a whole bunch of layers of what was going on the first time I saw it. The first time I watched it, uh, I kept thinking throughout the movie, "Holy fuck, there's so much going on right now. I've really got to have laser focus on the movie," and I still barely understood what was going on. But then, after I watched it the second time, I kind of grasped more of the layers of like all the complex interconnected layers of the themes that were going on in the movie. And so that's it. That's what brought me to the title of this video, and I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm so excited to talk about this. So this is what I called the reason that I called this video, "You create your reality by manifesting your destiny through your free will," is that this is what I think this is one of the main complex and philosophical messages that is explored through this movie that Christopher Nolan and the other filmmakers do brilliantly. And the what I find so fascinating about it is that the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it's kind of an exploration of a classic philosophical debate that has been going on for a long time. And this is the philosophical debate between determinism and free will, and then also compatibilism. Those are the three main philosophical kind of positions that people take on this subject. And basically, basically how it works is to just give brief descriptions of these three different positions that some people watching this, because if you're a fan of my channel, you know that I'm a big fan of philosophy. Some people are probably aware of these terms, but just for those people who don't know, some of you are probably aware of the term determinism, which is has been popularized more recently by public intellectuals like Sam Harris, for example. He's a big proponent of it, and I agreed with his arguments about determinism and against free will for a very long time until I studied philosophy in more detail. And I personally came to the conclusion that determinism is kind of a cop out, but I still also agree with Sam Harris's position that free will is probably an illusion. But then there's also this third position, compatibilism, which I'll talk about here, which I think is explored really brilliantly through the film. And it's actually a cool way in which, and this is one of the things that I love about science fiction in general, it's an exploration of philosophy using these fictional concepts that make it so fucking fascinating. And it actually, this movie actually I think, made the most compelling argument for compatibilism that I've ever come across. And I still personally have the opinion that free will, determinism, and compatibilism are all kind of cop outs. And one of the main criticisms that I have of compatibilism actually is that it is a paradox. But the interesting, one of the many fascinating things about this movie Tenet is that it kind of embraces the fact that compatibilism is a paradox, and the fact that time itself is kind of a paradox is kind of explored so brilliantly throughout this film, and about how free will and about compatibilism and how free will and determinism are essential for each other. So now that I've told you about free will, determinism, and compatibilism, just giving you brief descriptions about it, I'll well, I'll just describe them just briefly a little bit more here. So I guess because I haven't really actually explained that yet. So determinism is the idea, basically, to oversimplify it and put it in a nutshell, the idea that events are all predetermined and our decisions don't matter, basically. And then and that free will is an illusion. And the people who advocate for free will and deny determinism, again, there's a long history of philosophy, like academic philosophers intellectually debating about this for a very long period of history. And so proponents of free will over determinism argue that our decisions shape our future, and they're not predetermined because our actions change what the predetermined outcomes will be. And then compatibilism is more of the position, at least one aspect of it, is that they are is that they can work with each other. Determinists tend to believe that determinism and free will are incompatible, in the same way that proponents of free will tend to argue that free will is incompatible with determinism. But one of the interesting aspects of some, but not all, compatibilists is that free will and determinism can not only are compatible, which is why they're called compatibilists, but they can even complement each other. So the the free will, you can have determinism, but your decisions still matter. So you still have free will. You literally have free will and determinism. But the the reason it sounds like a paradox is because it kind of is. Because how can you have free will and be able to make choices which changes your future, yet also the future is predetermined? So that's why I think this is explored so brilliantly in Tenet, and why I called the title of this video Tenet: You Create Your Reality by Manifesting Your Destiny Through Your Free Will. So what this means within the context of free will, determinism, and specifically compatibilism is that the way this is explored through the film is through time travel, which, as I said, is so fucking fascinating the way they do it. But so the message, as I said, is that you create your reality. So in terms of time travel here, I'm going to try to avoid spoilers in this video, but I probably will give a couple. So there's this time machine that allows people to go back into the past and influence future events. But when you're in the past, you move through reality backwards. Something to do with like the way it reverses entropy, I think, the way they explain it in the film, just to give a simple explanation. And so basically, people are going back in time and changing the future, but in the way the characters explain this in the film and in the outcomes of the events, like for example, Robert Pattinson's character says that we don't know how this actually works, but he says basically what's happened happened. So basically that means that you can't go back in time and change what has already happened. Yet we find out later in the movie that that's actually not necessarily the case, because one of the characters gets shot, and even though he's told by the people who have more experience with time travel that you can't go back and stop someone from getting shot. If they've gotten shot, they're still going to get shot even if you go back in time. Yet they go back in time and prevent her from getting shot. So that means that it's not necessarily the case that what's happened happened. So you can change the future by changing the past. So how this relates to your destiny and determinism and free will is that your choices change reality. Like, you create your own reality based on your decisions, because you change reality. So it's important. So your decisions really matter. And since there's time travel involved, it means that if you go back in the past and change something, it changes the present that you will travel back to, which is the future when you're in the past, but becomes the present when you go back to it. So that when you change events in the past, it changes not only the present, but the future beyond what the present is to you right now. So this is another fucking cool theme that's explored through the film, that time is relative. It depends on your perspective. It depends on where you are in what you define as time. Like, at least time is not necessarily linear, like, especially if you time travel, obviously, right? So if you're in the present, then you define it as the present. But if you go back in time, you still define it as the past, because it has already happened to you. So it still depends on your perspective, even though technically when you're back in time, since when you go back in time, you define that as the past because you have experienced it already, you could still define that as the present. And this leads into why it gets so fucking complicated in the movie Tenet, because it's also the case that if you go into the future, then when you are there, it is the present to you at the time. But when you're back in what is defined as the present, you decide that that's the present. So you really could decide that the past is the present or the future is the present. You kind of can, especially if you can time travel and change what happens. And another aspect of this that is really cool in Tenet is that at the end, they're trying to stop a bomb from exploding, but since they're doing what they call a temporal pincer movement. So what that means is these, like, special forces types of guys, basically, who use time travel, they send what the temporal pincer movement means is that they send one team back in time to try to stop the bomb from going off, and then they have one team moving through the present towards the future, to no, wait, I've got it reversed. There's one team moving through the present to try to stop the bomb from going off, and then there's another team that goes back in time whose job is to fail to make the bomb explode. So their idea is to be able to prevent the bomb from exploding by creating this paradox, by having one team going back whose, like, predetermined outcome is to fail, and then having another team go back to change that predetermined outcome. So you can change the outcomes, right? Yet, as I said, some people in the movie, depending on the time, some of the characters accept this, and at other times they don't. Like, for example, involved with the climax, when they're trying to get a bomb to go off, in order to prevent the bomb from going off, which I should have mentioned earlier, this isn't just a bomb. This is the bomb that's linked to, it's basically kind of like the equivalent of a temporal bomb, where if it goes off, it's going to destroy the entire world, because this guy who's the main antagonist in the movie, he's the main guy who has access to the time travel technology, and he didn't create it, but people from the future sent him the technology from the future, and he gets it. And they also sent him parts for a bomb that he is supposed to set off, destroying the world. So he has the future of the world in his hands, and he has it rigged in a way that the bomb goes off if he dies, like if his heart rate drops too low, because his heart rate is already always being monitored by one of these fitness trackers. And so they also understand that even though they can change what is going to happen in the future if they have this temporal pincer movement, all the characters also say that this guy can't die before this happens, because if he does, then the world will be destroyed because the bomb will go off. So they get a female character, one of the main characters, to work with them, and her job is to prevent him from killing himself, because he is like literally suicidal and a total nihilist and doesn't care about anything. And this is a big spoiler, but it relates to the theme. She ends up killing him anyway, but they still are able to stop the bomb and prevent the world from being destroyed, because they did something differently than what they were going to do, thus changing the future by stopping the bomb and saving the world in a different way that they had not planned for. So it was spontaneous, which allowed her to kill him, which she wanted to do, even though she wasn't supposed to do, because that was supposedly going to destroy the world. She still was able to kill him, and they were able to save the world. So I know this gets so complex, just me explaining the basic concepts in this movie. That's why it's so fucking great. And I'm going to watch it over and over and over, just like Christopher Nolan's other fucking mind-blowing movies like Inception, Interstellar, Memento, and The Prestige. I love it just as much as all of those. So basically, I'm going to go back to the title of this video again to explain this more. So you create your reality. The characters create their reality because they change events by going back in time and changing what has already happened. But they know what is. So you manifest your destiny because your destiny is still always your destiny, but it's something that you create. So your destiny is not necessarily, I think the idea that's trying to be conveyed, again, I don't know explicit because they don't state it explicitly, which is why it's so fascinating to contemplate. But it seems like the idea is that your destiny is not predetermined. You determine your destiny by changing events through your free will, but your free will doesn't change the fact that it's your destiny. Yet, again, as I was explaining earlier, your destiny is kind of simultaneously not determined, but also still predetermined. But you change the predetermined result of what your destiny is going to be, because you have to act through your free will in order for your predetermined destiny to occur. It's like that temporal pincer movement that they're doing, right? They have to fail to stop the bomb in order to stop it. So they still have to use their free will to put in the effort of trying to stop the predetermined outcome in order to stop the predetermined outcome. Because if they had not tried to stop the predetermined outcome, they would have not done it. But at the same time, they would have not been able to stop the predetermined outcome if they did not plan to simultaneously fail in the outcome and succeed in it. So you have to have two possibilities happening simultaneously in order to achieve a desired outcome. So it's like this is the only way that you can circumvent the basically like laws of reality and the laws of physics related to time specifically is by having two actions occurring simultaneously by traveling back in time to have someone doing one thing one way in the past and someone doing another thing one way in the present, which which is what leads to what the future becomes by you getting to change the predetermined result, which is why it's such a fascinating paradox. You create your reality, you construct future events, which is a manifestation of your destiny because it was going to become your destiny, but you can change your predetermined destiny and your reality through the actions of your free will and the choices that you make. I hope I did a decent job of explaining this. I know it's a fucking complex concept, but this is why this movie is so fucking fascinating to me. I just love it and I can't get enough of it. And to those of you who haven't seen it, I highly recommend seeing it. If you actually have a movie, if you're lucky enough to have a movie theater open where you live, as I am right now, fortunately. I know some people don't have that available to them. But anyway, anytime you can, watch this fucking movie in theaters or rent it or buy it when it comes out or see it on whatever streaming service you watch it on or whatever. But yeah, especially if you love Christopher Nolan's other movies and if you love complex, mind-blowing science fiction movies, definitely watch Tenet. And remember, you create your reality by manifesting your destiny through your free will. Think about that paradox. All right. So, wow, I didn't realize how long I was going to ramble on about this movie. This is longer for a quickie, but it's just so fascinating and there's so much fucking going on and I barely got into telling you what it's all about. Anyway, like I always say, thanks to those of you who watched this video. Hope you enjoyed it and I hope you watch Tenet. And like I always say, thanks to those of you who press the like button on the video, share it everywhere, leave a comment on the video, tell me your thoughts about all these subjects like science fiction and time and free will and determinism and compatibilism. And we can continue the conversation about this. And also, thanks especially to those of you who give me money on Patreon. I really appreciate that. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and groove is in the heart. And you create your reality by manifesting your destiny through your free will. All right. Adios until next time, everyone.